So yeah, we're gonna talk about Joe Coy. Not for long, because I don't want to, and I'm tired. If you're not familiar, I'll get you up to speed. Basically, Joe Coy, a stand-up comedian and well-known comedy actor, hosted the Golden Globes tonight, or yesterday, or a year ago, whenever you're watching this, and he bombed. And he said a lot of sexist things, and he said a lot of lazy jokes, and basically, no one's happy with him, and it wasn't good. I just kind of want to talk about the few things that I noticed, which is literally everything that everyone noticed. So this isn't a very original idea, but whenever I have thoughts that I think I want to put an opinion about on a video, I have to post it because that's how it works. First of all, it's incredibly important to remember and to really kind of keep in mind that, like, this guy's good at telling jokes. This guy is funny. This guy has, made a lot of success on his Netflix specials. He's had a movie, maybe two, I'm not sure. He is a funny stand-up comedian. He's an experienced stand-up comedian. He's a seasoned comedian that knows how a joke works and knows what to do when a joke doesn't land. But then he decided to host the Golden Globes, and it's a whole other person. One of the first few things to kind of point out and, put a lot of blame on for Joe is the immediate surface level thing that people are noticing, which is that when a joke didn't go very well in his monologue, he immediately took a step back and said, hey, I didn't write a lot of these jokes, and hey, I only had 10 days to write these jokes. And so that's what he puts blame on for the jokes being bad. I will say, as much as that seems like a lazy thing to do, and as much as that's something to easily poke fun at and point out if you don't do stand-up comedy, I understand why he did this. I understand the thought process of a joke has immediately bombed and I need to step back. I'm scared. It's a flight or fight response. It's really it's something that really anyone would experience if they did stand-up comedy for the first time or even for the 20,000th time. Even the best stand-up comedians have this kind of reaction internally. What a experienced stand-up comedian would do, and what Joe has done before, is if you notice a joke doesn't go well, you just move on. Or you use your improvisational skills as a comedian, if you have those, and you just make the best of a horrible situation. What Joe did was the complete opposite of that. He simply decided that he was going to slide back into his hole and immediately just kind of throw it all away and say, hey, actually, some of these aren't my jokes. As a comedian, that is a very cowardly and, might I say, very cheap thing to do, to say that some of these jokes aren't yours. Because first of all, that's losing the authenticity of the set that people are watching, of the monologue people are watching. All of a sudden, people have this thought in mind when you say that some of these jokes aren't yours. They start to think, oh, well then some of these jokes aren't yours. Maybe all of these jokes aren't yours. All of a sudden, I feel different about this performance. And also, to back up and immediately say that you didn't have enough time to do this, Joe, you're a stand-up comedian. You chose this career. Sometimes you have to write a 5-minute set the night of the performance. Sometimes you got to do that, all right? I've performed 3 times in my life. 3 times. And even I know that sometimes you don't have time. Sometimes that's going to be your biggest enemy, is that you don't have as much time as you'd like. If every comedian had it their way, they would get an unlimited amount of time right before a show to make sure all of their jokes were good, to make sure they've written all the jokes they wanted to. That's not how that works. And I know it's super harsh for me to say, but also, it's not harsh for me to say. I know nothing, little to nothing, about stand-up comedy in comparison to you, Joe. And yet, I still understand that what you did on stage should never be done by any comedian. Every comedian thinks of it. That's the thing that I want to point out, is that I am not holding you against the fact that you thought to do that. Every comedian would have that immediate fight or flight response of, oh no, I need to back up, I need to go away. That's super common. That's just a human instinct. A comedian knows not to do it on stage, and you fully went for it too. You just kind of went, not my jokes, I didn't have enough time, this is it. You gave up immediately, and that's not what a stand-up comedian does. Also, the punchlines and the jokes just weren't good. And you know what? Sometimes you have an off night. And that's what stinks too, is that Joe is a well-known, comedian and people know who he is. But I saw a lot of people commenting on like TikToks and YouTube videos of his really bad jokes from the Golden Globes saying, I don't know who this guy is. I've never heard of this guy. So this has been some people's first time seeing you. And this has been some people's first time, seeing who you are as a comedian. And that sucks. That you just had a bad night, and that was the first time people had ever heard some of your comedy. Guess what, though? A lot of that is still on you. The art of stand-up comedy is about being clever and being very precise in how you write your jokes. You simply thought of the biggest movies ever and just said, Oppenheimer long, Barbie about women and plastic and kissing the plastic woman is weird. Like, that's simply lazy. And that's you know what? That's very easy for me to say. I didn't host the Golden Globes tonight. I might have made a joke about Oppenheimer being long. I can tell you this, though. I don't think I would have been as sexist and ignorant as you would have been. At least I'd like to hope to. Really, I would have liked to hope that you wouldn't have been like that. I'd like to hope that no one would be like that, but obviously that's not how this works. We're in the real world. I do want to point out what I'm saying now is a critique on who he was as a person tonight. Before, I was simply critiquing that he was being a lazy and very unprofessional comedian. That's separate from the fact that he was deliberately sexist, incredibly ignorant, and not realizing what his jokes were saying, and also just not charismatic at all to the crowd in the way he was handling the response to these rather problematic jokes. Those kinds of jokes that you made aren't about you being a bad comedian. That's about you being a bad person. And you know what? Just take a step back, take some time to breathe after this, and realize that it was a mistake. Don't go trying to defend yourself on this and be facing the backlash as if it's not justified backlash. Do the hardest thing ever. And this is the hardest thing to do. Do the hardest thing ever and just take it. Because you deserve to take it. What also sucks about this happening tonight is that there were good things that happened at the Golden Globes tonight. And the Golden Globes are it's an award show that's meant to highlight incredible people and talented things. And you took away from that. And I will, be very, upfront and, self-aware here. The fact that people are covering it, people are talking about it, like myself in this video, the fact that that's happening is also taking away from the good things. But to compensate for that, I'd like to point out that some really great movies and some really great actors and actresses were nominated and even won tonight. Lily Gladstone winning for Killers of the Flower Moon. That's a monumental moment in the way that the stories of Native people are being told, and finally it's being brought to the front at an award show that's very important to a lot of people. All of a sudden, it's been now aided in showing people, hey, this is a story that needs to be told. These are people playing those stories that are worthy of those parts, that are not just being Hollywood taking a story and whitewashing it again. Like, this is important things happening, and it's a really exciting thing that this happened at the Golden Globes. Barbie, a movie that I loved so much, is not just great because I loved it so much. It's a movie about human connection and how the patriarchy has led us down this incredibly disgusting and stupid cesspool that we've been swimming in for basically all of humanity. And it's something that we need to really take a look at. And Barbie was a very important movie this year, and it won. It won for, I believe, cinematic and box office achievement. I don't know the names of all these awards. Apologies for me having to look at my screen. But it was a great moment for a great movie. And overall, a lot of incredible people were celebrated tonight, got together to celebrate each other tonight. And a lot of that won't be remembered. And a lot of that is just going to be sitting in the back, because all people are going to be talking about is how you messed up, Joe. So that sucks that it's all on you. But you put it all on yourself. So I'd say take a step back and don't try to defend what you said, because a lot of what you said wasn't good, wasn't funny, and wasn't justifiable. Also, I want to point out, a lot of times when things like this happen, people really go into like going hard on people like Joe Coy, people that make mistakes. People really love going, and that's how like the internet works. Any one of the few people that see this video of mine and take my strongly worded opinions as something of a battle cry to go attack Joe, no. don't attack Joe Coy. Don't attack anyone who makes these mistakes. Criticize them. Criticize them hardly, constructively. You can do that, but don't go attacking them. A lot of people have already on TikTok. I can already see people on TikTok and all over social media being racist and being real jerks about it, and that's not what you do in this situation. Those people are just as bad, and I'm not a fan of that. So please don't take what I'm saying, what everyone else on social media is saying, as something to go attack Joe, as a means of battle cry to bring social justice by destroying this man. No, I want you to critique this man. I want you to be brutal in a very respectable and a very justifiable way. Don't be don't be a jerk.